Hi, shalom, everybody. We live at times when things seem to be incredibly hectic, and very often we feel that we're pulled in so many different directions. And everyone is making demands on our time. And I think it's almost a universal wish and dream. I wish I had more time just to do, I don't know, maybe nothing, or just to have time to utilize the way I want it. But everyone seems to want my time. When do I have time for myself? And there are similar questions that we all deal with. But I would like to present to you a slightly different perspective, based on the Talmud of a story, based on the story of the Talmud, with a great man, Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai. The story goes that this great man had a dream, and he dreamt that his nephews would be losing a substantial amount of money the following year. It was almost like a prophecy. I believe it was like 400 gold dinar. Well, he was very distressed. What could he do to change the destiny? And came up with a very simple solution. They were supposed to lose the 400 dinar, which means they couldn't use it for themselves, but it was not clear through the dream of who would take those 400 dinar. So being that this rabbi was in charge of many charitable projects, he made sure that whenever money had to be collected, the first people that he sent them to was his own nephews. They were good-natured people, and over the course of the year, they gave over 379 dinars. Towards the end of the year, they sort of said to the people, look, we're pretty maxed out, and perhaps you could go to someone else. Before the year was over, though, the government hit them with a substantial fine. Something which really perhaps wasn't even really their fault at all. It was just a perspective, the way the government was looking at them. And they came to their great uncle and they said, Rabbi, our uncle, we need some divine intervention over here. Maybe you could do a prayer? I mean, they're trying to steal hundreds of dinars from us. And what he suggested was, he says, I know an official. Why don't you just for a couple of dinars, and he mentioned the amount that would equal 400, that would conclude between 379 and 400, why don't you buy him a gift and ask him to review the case again? Maybe this time he'll see it a little bit differently. Well, they did not really think that would be very successful, so they quickly buy a gift that value of 21 dinars, and they give it to this man who reviews the case and comes back and says to them, you know what, the mistake was from our side, you don't have to pay anything. They were very impressed with the advice of their uncle. So they go back to their uncle, this great rabbi. They say, Uncle, we want to thank you, but it's rather uncanny. How did you know? So he says, I'll tell you. I actually dreamt that 400 dinars would be taken away from you this year. And when you told me how many dinars you gave to charity, I realized you were still missing 21. So I suggested that you invest 21 dinars in buying this man a present, and now the heavenly decree was fulfilled that 400 dinars you did not use. So where does this story lead us to? It leads us to the idea that time, money, health is not ours. It's all from God. So let's assume for a moment that out of your day of 8 hours, and you would like to use 6 of them for yourself, God's plan is that you should only use 2 of them for yourself. So what will happen with those 6 hours? The answer is they're not yours, so they will be utilized by others. So it might be your workers. It might be you have to take care of things. You have to do stuff, but certainly not something that you would want to do. But if you look at these investments as not so much as things pulling you away from your destiny, but rather challenges and opportunities, you could bear this. Okay. Let me try to be a bit clearer. Many years ago, the Lubavitcher Rebbe, this goes way back, he started a campaign a charity campaign. And he spoke to the Hasidim that he wants to print certain sacred works of his predecessors, and he highly suggests that everyone give a certain amount of money. And the idea was taken up eagerly by the Hasidim, and there was a lot of charity collected for this project. Not too much later, a couple of months later, the Rebbe announced a new project. And again asking for their help. And there was not grumbling, but the Rebbe could notice that people were not overly excited about this. And he received a letter that one person said that he's happy to participate in the new project, but unfortunately he'll have to cut down on the old project. So at the next Farbrengen gathering, the Rebbe then spoke. He says, when I opened up a new project, it was actually for your benefit. The Talmud and the mystics especially talk about that when one gives charity, God blesses that person tenfold. He said, I wanted to give these group of people the opportunity to be blessed again tenfold. So when I opened up this new project and asked them for your participation, it's not I'm trying to bleed you, God forbid, or trying to take away from you. I want to give you the opportunity of being blessed by the Almighty tenfold. If you're going to minimize the old project and put it in the new project, you simply will not be getting the benefits of the new project, which is a tenfold blessing. Well, that's a remarkable way of looking at life. Instead of saying another charity project, look at it another opportunity to do good and to be blessed through that action of doing good. See, my friends, there's many things that we cannot control. As I started off in terms of time and place, in monetary, but there are things that we can control, and that is attitude. There are things that we can control, and that is feelings. We actually create our own feelings. And if we look at all of the demands as means of bringing out within ourselves new resources and new strength, we'll be able to be living a much happier and indeed a much less stressful life. I'll close with a person who was incredibly busy, how he faced an obstacle. The previous, one of the early Gera Rebbes living in Poland in the 1930s was known to be a person that literally marked his minutes. And when you talk about a day planner, he didn't plan his day by the hours, but every minute literally was marked what it was going to be dedicated for. And he had allocated for lunch 7 minutes. Even when he was at lunch, during the 7 minutes, he would actually have a book in front of him and he would read. So not only was he not wasting the time, but he was using his lunch to study. The story goes that one time the lunch was delayed. He was sitting down, he read his book, got the 7 minutes of study, but the soup was not brought. So the Hasidim were concerned, his followers. Our Rebbe is so adamant about not wasting time. This is going to cause him a lot of frustration, but they saw him just sitting very peaceful. So a Chassid went over there and said, Rebbe, you're not even looking at the book, so what are you learning now? He said, I'm learning patience. You see, I could study from a book, and now that I have an opportunity to exercise patience, I'm learning how to be patient. So this too is a learning experience. It's not a waste of time. Well, you might want to think about that next time you're stuck in traffic. It might be very frustrating. It might also be a wonderful lesson for you to realize how much self-control you have. So friends, here you have it. What will happen will be divinely orchestrated. How we're going to deal with it is up to us. And I highly suggest that our attitude be refined and to always look for the good, the silver cloud, and the benefit from it. Shalom.